All right, guys. Video 13, part 2. This is mobile, okay? If you've now decided that your business is going to be mobile, there's a lot of definitions for mobile. I'm going to go through ones that I think you would all think of first. Pet grooming, landscapers, handyman, okay? There's 3, but I'm going to give you a bunch of other ones. Consultant, in-health home care, if you're going to do in-house tax preparation, anything where a customer doesn't have to come to you, that you can figure out how to bring your product to them. Okay, that could even be Snap-on. Snap-on is a perfect example of a Fortune, or I don't know if they're Fortune 500, but a very large corporation that their entire business concept is mobile. They have trucks, and the trucks drive around, and they're rolling showrooms. And they, listen, if you don't know who Snap-on is, do some research on them. They're pretty much the most successful mechanics tool company that ever existed. So I really think that if there's any way whatsoever that you can create a mobile company, that's the way to go. Internet's great. Like I that's the next one we're going to talk about. But for me personally, my best selling attribute is me getting face to face with you and talking you into what I want to do. So for me personally, I want hands-on. I don't trust that I'm really good at getting you to do what I want on a website, but I'm much better at talking you into what I want you to do. So if you can figure out a way to make your company mobile, you're going to have the least amount of outlay. You're going to have a vehicle, which is a 100% write-off. Okay, that's, and lots of corporations, the owner drives a company car, the vice president drives, and everybody that you want has a company car. So your company will get you a company car or a company vehicle or a Snap-on van, whatever you need. Then you just really need, just for a mindset, a spot, usually in your house, or if you've got a barn or whatever, a little spot that you set aside for solitude. You cannot mix it through your whole house. You have to understand that if you're going to work mobile and you're going to be your own boss, then you've got to listen to your boss, and your boss wants you to work. So it's really hard for a home-based business to not get sidetracked. Like me, I don't have a home-based business, but like dogs and lightning. And so I'll tell you what, my wife's a therapist, and sometimes she's got to do Zoom calls and Zoom therapy. And I don't know how she does it on like 3 o'clock in Florida in the summer, because everyone she's got to do, it's through a horrible storm. So you want a place that's dedicated, even if you just put a desk in the corner of your bedroom, but that's your work location. And when you're working, that's where you are. And when you're not working, you get up and do the other things, just like you were work. Mobile businesses, home businesses, internet businesses, ones where you're not required to be there from 9 to 5 or whatever your shift is. That company's open. They're really 24-hour-a-day propositions. So that's the one thing about having a brick and mortar, is you lock the door at 6 o'clock and you go home, and the answering machine picks it up. If you're a mobile business, your answering machine is your telephone, your cell phone. So you're on call 24/7. I think you can find a way to do almost anything mobile, and it makes it easier, because when you're setting appointments, I can set an appointment time that I want you to see me. If I have a brick and mortar, then I'm under your obligation to come. If you tell me you're coming at 2 and you don't make it, you don't really care. But if I book an appointment to come to your place at 2 and I get there and you're not there, then that's a problem. So that really, because you confirm. So if I had an appointment for you for next Thursday, on Wednesday, I'm calling you to go, hey, John, do we still have that appointment set for tomorrow at 2 o'clock? Or your assistant or whoever. And confirming. And then I get there. So I like that because it controls that I know you're going to be there. I can also set the terms of who else is going to be there. So if I'm meeting you and I want your COO there, and maybe I want your personal assistant there, I can request those things. I can request. And if they don't, remember something about being a consultant, if they don't match your requests, it gives you a reason to have to stay longer because they're not cooperating with you. So it just costs them more money. So they learn that real quick. When you bill out by the hour and you make $300 an hour as a consultant, they make sure the things you ask for are in front of you in a timely manner, whether it be people or books or interviews or whatever it is. Because at $300 an hour, they lose money fast if they don't get the stuff together quickly. So I think if you're going to go mobile, the most important thing is your vehicle. It's important. I don't understand why. It's ridiculous to me. If you were from another planet and you came here and I was explaining to you American culture and we got to the part about cars and I explained to you that a Kia costs $30,000 a year and will realistically last 6 to 7 years. A Ferrari costs $300,000 and will realistically last 6 to 7 years before it costs you $100,000 to fix it. Okay. They both get you from point A to point B. We are all governed by the same speed limit. Okay? So it's not like it's an open autobahn and you can get there faster if your car does 180 and mine only does 80. That's theoretically possible today with speed limits, but you can't count on that on a daily basis. You're going to go to jail. So a Kia, $30,000, a Ferrari, $300,000, and you explain this to an alien why people buy Ferraris, because it literally makes 0 sense. Did I ever spend that much on a car? No. The most expensive car I ever owned in my entire life was the day my wife graduated from college. Well, within, say, a month after my wife graduated from college. Now, I had sent my son, my daughter, and my wife to college. Me, a ninth grade dropout. But I sent them all to college, and when they were done, I bought a Tesla. I drove Lexuses before that, but it's important in your vehicle when you pull up to this place to make a first impression. If you pull up in a whoop-de-doop beat up old clunker, nobody trusts you. So crazy thing about if you're doing business with high dollar values, okay, like just stuff where you're not selling something that's $100, where you're selling things in the thousands and tens and thousands and all the way up hundreds of thousands of dollars. These are the 3 most important things when you walk in a room: your shoes, your watch, your car. I never understood the watch thing because, once again, it's like a car, it tells time. So everyone around me was buying $25,000, $35,000, $40,000 watches. And I didn't want to buy those kind of watches, but I didn't want to not look the part. So what I did was I decided that I was going to make Movado my watch. Now, to watch guys, a Movado's low end. And they're expensive. I mean, you really, a decent Movado, you can't pick it up for less than like $1,500-$1,800. But they top out at about $7,000, $6,000-$7,000. I mean, that's like the Movado. So I only bought Movados. And to this day, I still only really, I mean, I buy some weird watches, but I literally only own Movados. And I have Movados that started, the first one I bought, I think, was $600. And the last one I bought was $7,000. Nobody ever said anything about me not wearing a Rolex or me not wearing a Cartier or a Peugeot or any of those. Or no, Philippe, that's the one, not Peugeot. Peugeot's a car. No one ever said a word because they figured it out that all I wore was Movados. Now, I didn't wear them. Like, I like them. But I'll be honest with that. I love that little, their logo. Their little dot they put on their watches. I always thought that was a really cool concept. But, yeah, sure, I like Rolexes too. Rolex is a nice watch. I'm just not spending $25,000 on a watch. I'd rather spend 3, 4. So I have a collection of Movados, and like I said, though, it's one of them quirky things. So instead of trying to match the Joneses, I created, this is what I'm going to do, and it was acceptable enough that I didn't have to get into who's got a nicer watch game. And be honest with you, if everybody's driving Mercedes and Teslas and Porsches and you pull in a Lexus, no one's ever going to say a word. So if you can't afford that kind of stuff, then just make sure whatever vehicle you arrive to your customer, your potential customer is spotless, clean, signs on it, everything that gives you credibility, you know. If you're a consultant, obviously you're not going to have signs on it, but nice, clean, inside's clean, because somebody walks out to your car, they look in, it's a disaster, it reflects on you before they give you money. So what you're trying to do here is, in sales, everybody thinks it's about overcoming objections. So that's, in sales videos, sales training videos, that's what they're going to tell you. Overcome objections, overcome objections. I came up 40 years ago with a better one. How about we don't create objections? We just don't create them. We don't give a person a reason to have an objection. We counter all of those before their mouth ever opens. So I'll give you another example. Say you got a broke down hoopty, okay, and you got to go to this appointment. What's the first thing out of your mouth when you walk up and introduce yourself? I walk up, I hold out my hand, I look you in the eye, I say, hey, I'm Kevin Klein. Pleasure to meet you. So now, I control conversations by not letting you talk. And that's not going to work for most of you. It's worked for me because I've been lucky enough to practice it over 40 years and get incredibly good at it. Pisses people off. If I don't want you to, you're never, ever going to get a word in. It's not going to happen. I'll just keep talking right over you, nonstop, until you stop. So I don't really need to hear what you have to say when I'm selling you, because I've already heard it 800 times. What I need is you to listen to me, and while you're listening to me, I'm hypnotizing you. I am getting you to just like, yeah. My first response would be, oh man, sorry I had to come in the hoopty. It's my son's car. I got hit yesterday. It broke down yesterday. I wouldn't use broke down. I think I would. I'd use hit. I got hit yesterday. It sounds way better. It actually creates sympathy. I had a contractor one time come to me, and he was 2 hours late. And young kid, and to give me an estimate. And I was pretty muffed. And he looked at me and he said, yeah, I'm really sorry. I was at my chemo treatment. Now, truthfully, I don't know if he made that up or not. It's a killer line. Dude, all my anger disappeared, and I bought from the kid, and they did some of the shittiest work I've ever had done in my whole life, okay? But he got me with, I just came from chemo. So if I was a young man and I learned that, I'd be using that one. I would totally tell you that I had cancer and I was going to die. I don't know. See, morally, you all have to figure this out for yourself, because I'm going to tell you one thing. There are no morals in monopoly. Read the rules. Nowhere in there does it say fair play. You must tell the truth. None of those things, okay? In life and in your character, these are important virtues to have. But if you're going to carry them over into business, you're not going to succeed, or you're going to succeed very little. You're going to get your niche, but you're not going to be able to compete with the sharks and the professional monopoly players, because they don't have any conscience. And later on, I'll explain to you that's why I never became a professional. I'm strictly minor leagues. And not because I couldn't have been. I could have played pro ball. I could have played pro monopoly. I have conscience. So mobile, I love them. I really literally think that's the best choice. It kind of does, like, you're going to think when we get to home base that they're similar, but they're not, because even with a home base, everything's happening at home. Mobile, everything's not happening at your office. Now, let's say you own a plumbing company, okay? That's a mobile business. That is not a brick and mortar. It does not matter. Okay, so you got a fleet and you got a little warehouse, right? Listen, you can get a storage locker for your warehouse, and you can find a place to park your vehicles in a safe spot at night. You may not think you can, but that's because you have this illusion and dream of owning a building, okay? If you're already successful, this is a whole nother story. Remember, this series is on starting a business, okay? And what I need to get going. I will tell you that when I tell you that mobile business I started with a $1,500 investment that grew to 1.2 to 1.5 million a year in sales, it eventually had a brick and mortar location because I needed all my employees in one location so that I had some place where I could go and yell. So that's it for mobile businesses. As much as I can, that I can come up with right now. There's, everything I'm giving you guys. This is these are the cliff notes. This is the short version. You're gonna have to do a lot of research on your own based on the information that I'm giving to you. Owning a company, the one thing about it is it's a lot of work. Like there's periods of my life where I made maybe $1 an hour. I've been involved where like I went a year without a paycheck. I always had side hustles going on when I was starting companies. Something to guarantee cash flow. Even if it's just the wife has a job and some of your bills are covered. You really need to understand that you're probably literally not going to be able to take a paycheck for a good couple of months. Unless your outlay is so low. If you get 0 overhead, every nickel you get is profit. That's what I did with my last company. I didn't have any overhead. So the $1,500 was just startup costs, and I had 0 overhead. I can't say that, okay? Any company. I probably had $300, $400 a month in overhead. And at that point, I was only billing out at roughly about $75 an hour, maybe $100 an hour, right around there. But it was all profit. I didn't have any employees at that point. I had subcontractors. So that's another thing you can do. We'll get into a whole thing about subcontractors, but there's a lot of ways that you don't have to have a building if everybody that works for you is a subcontractor. So next time we will do internet-based businesses, and that's a long one. I'm gonna give you like what all that entails, how to make it work. You're gonna have to watch the marketing videos for that. But internet's interesting. It's insanely competitive because you don't have to get dressed to do this job if you're on the internet. You do not have. You can work at 3 o'clock in the morning. So you're competing with. There's a very low threshold. I can get a whole internet business up and going for under $5,000 and probably spend between $1,000 and $1,500 a month in the first 60 days to get it to the point of profitability. And, I don't have any overhead. I got apps and programs and crap like that I got to pay for. Cloud stuff, stupid stuff, $20, $50, $100 a month. Nothing that really adds up to get it going. But you also got to know, once the internet business is up, you have to know how to get it so that people can see it. Because, but we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the internet-based business and what. I'll go into a little bit about website and that too. So, peace.